When these inspectors go in,
my staff are going to go in and take a look at her record and decide, okay, what is the plan of care that's put in place for her based on what she requires, based on a comprehensive assessment. And that is, you've got a group of professionals in what's called an interdisciplinary team, each of which looks at that individual to decide what services they need from that discipline. That plan of care is developed, signed off by the physician or the medical director or the physician, and put in place. And from that point on, all the staff that are providing services to grandma need to follow that plan of care. We then look at that, okay, take our notes and decide if the individual is able to be interviewed. So we may want to talk to her to see how she's doing, how she believes her services are being provided. We also check the entire record to make sure that everything is in order, from signed statements if there need to be signed, documentation of what's going on with the resident, because the record should reflect really what's happening with that resident. Once that review is done, then we go out and we'll see cares that the nurses, our nurses, observe services being provided to the individual. Because they're licensed as a nurse, they have the ability to provide that. Those social workers do not carry that credential that the nurse has. So treatments, if they're, for instance, a pressure ulcer or pressure wound, or they're commonly known as bed sores, we'll look at how did that happen, why did it happen, should it have been prevented, and if so, what did the facility do to fail to prevent it, if it happened. Any other services that the individual needs, we'll talk to them. Usually an interview will take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending upon what the individual says. If they voice concerns about issues that they haven't been responded to, then we'll follow up on those as well. We talk to family members of the individual, because oftentimes families have much more information to say, especially for a resident that has some form of a cognitive disability, and so they're not able to share with us really the true nature of their services. So we go to the family member or legal representative to talk to them. We'll watch them during their activities to see if the staff are doing what the plan of care requires those staff to provide. We'll watch them during their meals, take their meals. If they have what's called mechanically altered diets, that's that definition of if my food should be altered in such a way as to allow me to eat it so that I don't choke, for instance. A number of nursing home residents have what's called mechanical soft diet, so the food is softened up for them to allow them to take it in. Some residents are on tube feeding, so our nurses who will watch how staff are preparing and administering that tube feeding. We will then look at the resident's room to see if it's physically set up to meet their physical needs, if there are hazards or dangers in place that would compromise that individual's health and safety. It is a comprehensive review of that resident and the services he or she receives based on the plan of care. Other areas of the building are looked at. We look at kitchen to see if they're following infection control practices, whether staff should be wearing various pieces of equipment, i.e. hair nets. We'll watch to observe that staff are washing their hands between treatments, before treatments, even in the kitchen before handling foodstuffs and the like. Basic infection control practices have to be adhered to by all nursing homes. So we'll make sure that that's being done before we finish our review. We'll check on food storage, we check on laundry to see that clean laundry, clean linen if you will, is separated from dirty linen so that you don't have cross-contamination. And we look at the physical environment of the building. The engineers will go through and probably go through every nook and cranny that they can to see make sure the building is properly maintained. So the inspection process is quite intense, quite time-consuming, but it's to assure us that the residents are safe, that they're getting their medical and other needs met, and that the facility is at that point in time, in compliance with all the state and federal rules.